From Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, Justice Olukayode Ariwola takes oath of office as acting Chief Judge of Nigeria after resignation of Ibrahim Tanko. Bandits abduct DPO in Kaduna as defense chief replies Zamfara state on self-defense. Huge relief for students as NECO examination begins amidst postponement rumor. And away from Nigeria, G7 pledges renewed solidarity with Ukraine, mar Russia sanctions. Hello and welcome to Trust News Hour. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for joining. We'll begin with the Attorney General of the Federation's story. Justice Olukayode Ariwola has been sworn in as the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria following the resignation of Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed on health grounds. President Muhammadu Buhari performed the honors during a brief ceremony at the council chambers of the State House in Abuja. Kende Amodu reports.
The nation woke up to reports on Monday morning that Justice Tanko Mohammed had resigned from his position as Chief Justice of Nigeria on health grounds. After some initial doubts, the former CJN Special Assistant on Media, Ahuraka Issa, confirmed the development. The mantle has fallen swiftly on Justice Olukayode Ariwola, who is the next most senior judge. Justice Ariwola was later sworn in the afternoon as acting Chief Justice of Nigeria by President Muhammadu Buhari, who applauded the Nigerian judiciary under the leadership of the former CJN.
CJN Tanko dealt firmly with the issue of reckless and indiscriminate grant of ex parte orders that was assuming serious dimensions. History will be kind to Justice Tanko Mohammed for his modest contributions to Nigeria's judiciary, the strengthening of our democracy, and national development.
He also hints of the challenges ahead.
Our nation is approaching a critical general election in 2023. The judiciary must not do anything to fail the ordinary people of Nigeria, which may make them lose confidence in the judiciary.
The new acting Chief Justice is aware of the huge responsibilities he has to bear.
What Nigerians expect from me is to comply, preserve and abide and protect the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
But he is quick to dismiss speculations that the former Chief Justice of Nigeria resigned because of controversy in the judiciary.
It was an internal memo of the court. It was not a petition. It was not a letter. It was addressed by the brother justices of the Chief Justice and presented to him, his lordship, directly. There were issues to be resolved amongst justices. Yeah, we've started resolving it.
Justice Ariwola was born on August 22, 1958, and was appointed a Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria in 2011. He was a Justice of the Court of Appeal between 2005 and 2011, after having elevated from the State High Court of Oyo State. Justice Ariwola was first appointed a Judge of Superior Court of Record in Oyo State in 1992 from private legal practice. Before his elevation to the Supreme Court, he served as Justice of the Court of Appeal in Kaduna, Enugu, and Lagos divisions. From State House, Abuja, Kende Amodu, Trust TV News.
Now, following the resignation of Justice Tanko Mohammed as Chief Justice of Nigeria and the swearing in of Justice Olukayode Ariwola as the new CJN, Trust TV brings you a profile of the two legal luminaries as one bows out and the other takes over.
Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, CFR, until his resignation due to ill health, was a Nigerian jurist who served as a Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria since 2005 and the Chief Justice of Nigeria from 2019 until 2022. He was formerly a justice of the Nigerian Court of Appeal. Justice Tanko was born on the 31st of December 1953 at Dogwa, a local government area in Bauchi State, northwest Nigeria. He attended government secondary school Azare, where he obtained the West African School Certificate in 1973 before proceeding to Ahmadu Bello University, where he received an LLB degree in Islamic law in 1980. He later obtained an LLM degree and a PhD in law from the same university in 1985 and 1998 respectively. Tanko began his career in 1982 after he was called to bar in 1981, the same year he graduated from the Nigerian Law School. In 1989, he was appointed Chief Magistrate of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, a position he held until 1991 when he became a judge at the Bauchi State Sharia Court of Appeal. He served in that capacity for 2 years before he was appointed to the bench of the Nigerian Court of Appeal as justice in 1993. He held this position for 13 years before he was appointed to the bench of the Supreme Court of Nigeria in 2006, but was sworn in on the 7th of January 2007. On Thursday, 11 July 2019, Tanko Mohammed was nominated by President Muhammadu Buhari as substantive Chief Justice of Nigeria. This was barely 24 hours after National Judicial Council recommended him to the President. On Sunday, 26 June 2022, Tanko resigned as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, citing ill health as a reason for his decision. Prior to his resignation, his two sons, Ibrahim Tanko, emerged as APC's Bauchi North Senatorial District candidate, while Sani Ibrahim won the Shira Federal Constituency under the platform of the People's Democratic Party (PDP). The influence of their father was said to have played a significant role in their emergence as their party candidates. Justice Olukayode Ariwola was appointed a Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria in 2011. He was a Justice of the Court of Appeal between 2005 and 2011 after his elevation from the High Court of Oyo State. He was first appointed a Judge of Superior Court of Record in Oyo State in 1992 from private legal practice. He studied law at the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and bagged his Bachelor of Laws degree with honors in July 1980. In July 1981, Ariwola was called to bar and got enrolled at the Supreme Court of Nigeria as a solicitor and advocate thereafter. Ariwola was a State Counsel on National Youth Service at the Ministry of Justice, Akure, Ondo State, and later as legal officer in the Ministry of Justice of his home state, Oyo State, until 1988. He voluntarily left the official bar of the State Civil Service for private practice. He worked as a counsel in chambers of Chief Ladosu Ladapo, San, between October 1988 and July 1989, when he established Olukayode Ariwola & Co., a firm of legal practitioners and consultants in Oyo Town in August 1989, from where he was appointed in November 1992 as a judge of Oyo State Judiciary. He served on the election tribunals in Zamfara and Enugu states in 1999, as well as on election appeal courts in Port Harcourt, Enugu, Benin, Yola, and Ilorin at various times. Before his elevation to the Supreme Court, he served as Justice of Court of Appeal in Kaduna, Enugu, and Lagos divisions. He is also a Fellow of International Dispute Resolution Institute, having been inducted in Dubai in 2014.
We now have joining us in the studio Victor Aguira, National Coordinator, Advocates for People's Rights and Justice, to speak on this development. Thank you so much for joining us on the News Hour.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I mean, looking at the circumstances, leading up to the resignation of the former CJN, it's difficult to separate what happened before his resignation. I mean, first it was about his two sons who emerged as flag bearers for two different political parties, and then next we're hearing about this memo, that was leaked, pointing to certain inadequacies, as regards the operations of the Supreme Court. So, when you look at that, what's your take on the circumstances?
Well, thank you very much. I think, firstly, the CJN, or the resigned CJN, or former CJN, has always been in the news, especially considering the background from which he came. He came in during the trial of the then CJN Onogen, when Onogen was removed in a controversial circumstance. Later, the issue about his health, became something of concern, And about a few months ago, the issue of whether he needed medical attention, whether he has traveled for medical attention and all of that. Then just a few days back, the issue of the sons and all of that. But actually, I think, like he rightly did, and the media aid has, averted to, his health was a major challenge for him, which was obvious for everybody to see. And of course, he has also shown it by the kind
Would that be part of the reasons why some of the issues raised in that memo were unattended to?
Yes, and I really think so, because of course, constitutionally, if you look at the modes of resignation or the reason for resignations, one of the reasons why you can resign or where you can even be impeached in terms of legislative persons within the legislative arm and the executive arm could be, one, because of your health, your medical position. If you are in such a position where you cannot carry out your lawful duty as a result of health ground, that shows that when you are healed, you might not be able to carry out your function, according to the law. So in that situation, you are expected to either resign voluntarily or you'll be asked to leave. But in his own case, and not just in his own case, this is one of the first of its kind within the three arms of government, where you see the very head of the judiciary, the first one other arm of the government voluntarily resign. But if you look at in other arms like the executive and the legislature, you don't see people voluntarily resigning, especially on health ground. We have seen cases where executive have refused to resign in more than 2-3 occasions. So to the CJN, that is a very good one.
That's historical, isn't it?
Yes.
What are some of the things that, the former CJN will be remembered for? What are some of the landmark achievements?
Well, for the past few months, he has really stood very strongly against the proliferation of ex parte orders. He has spoken strongly about how judges should not abuse the use of ex parte orders. He has also spoken against corruption within the judiciary. We have noticed that, sometimes in 2020 on the 6th, he swore in new justices that were promoted to the Supreme Court. And so he has been very, very tough on the issue of corruption within the bench. I remember in our last MBA meeting in Lagos, I could remember he spoke very, very strongly. He has been very vocal on some sensitive matters. And I think that his vocality on certain matters within the judiciary, really stand him out in the whole history of the CJN.
All right, now looking at the fact that 2022 is eve of elections, we're approaching 2023 general elections. What are the likely implications of this on the political process of the country? Are there any implications?
Well, no, I don't see any implication, because firstly, his resignation, like it was rightly stated, was because of health ground. Now, so what happens is that we are going to see a judiciary that is revigorated. We're going to see a judiciary that is strong. We're going to see a judiciary that is vibrant. We're going to see this a Supreme Court that can withstand the pressure that will be coming towards it. And we're going to see a Supreme Court that is united.
Are you that confident about the incoming CJ?
Yes, very, very confident. Of course, historically, we know Justice Kayode Ayola. He has given some very profound judgments in the past when he was in Court of Appeal in Lagos. I could remember one of his cases, Olotu's case about a chieftain matter. And he's a very sound person. And of course, he belongs to my alma mater. He finished from Obafemi Awolowo University. So I will give that to him. And the truth about it is that if you look at him physically, you see somebody that is strong. You see somebody that is very virile. You see somebody that is vibrant. You see somebody that is coordinated. And he's the most senior. So I think that there will be some level of life in the Supreme Court. There will be some level of coordination. There will be some level of strength. And I believe it's not new to the system.
All right, thank you so much. Victor Aguira, National Coordinator, Advocates for People's Rights and Justice. Thank you for joining us on the News Hour.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, now moving on. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabor, has stated that the Zamfara Governor, Bello Matoli, lacks the powers to instruct the Commissioner of Police in the state to issue gun licenses to the public. This follows a statement from the Commissioner for Information, Ibrahim Dosara, on Saturday, mandating individuals to prepare and obtain guns to defend themselves against bandits. But speaking in an interview at the joint exercise for the National Defense College and War Colleges of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, codenamed Exercise Grand National in Abuja on Monday, General Lucky Irabor disapproved the measures taken by Governor Matole to secure his state against insurgency. He also faulted the directive, asserting that the governor failed to use the available resources at his disposal to mitigate the insecurity issues within his domain. Irabor also clarified the position of the armed forces in the current administration, adding that it was not subject to directives from the state government.
Gives the right and the powers to the Commander-in-Chief for the use of the armed forces. And I believe that what we're doing in Zamfara State and of course across the states of the Confederation is in deference to these provisions of the Constitution. If what I read is true, I do not also think that the governor has the powers to instruct the Commissioner of Police to issue licenses, because the Commissioner of Police does not have the powers to issue licenses. Anyway, asking for citizens to bear arms, I'm yet to know. I believe that the Attorney General or the Federation will look at the Constitution and what the laws say and what the powers of the executive governor is to be able to do this.
Meanwhile, there are mixed reactions trailing the directive by the Zamfara state government that people should prepare to obtain license to procure weapons to defend themselves and their communities. While some residents say that it is a step in the right direction, others are of the view that allowing individuals to own guns is capable of worsening the insecurity bedeviling the state. The report.
The recent directive by the Zamfara state government for people to own weapons for self-defense against terrorists does not go down well with some of the residents of the state, which view the decision as a failure of the government to carry out its primary responsibility of protecting lives and property. They observe that asking residents to procure weapons to defend themselves and their communities is dangerous because it could further create anarchy and chaos instead of addressing the current prevailing insecurity facing the state. The respondents want the Zamfara state government to take a careful look at the decision and its negative implications. They claim the security operatives are determined to win the ongoing war against criminal elements, but they lamented that relevant authorities are yet to provide the operatives with the necessary logistics to win the war.
The citizens surrender their sovereignty to the government, which government it is ultimate right to protect the life and property of the citizen. It's the statement, or I may say, the step taken by the state government have went contrary to the theory of states, because they are ready to fight it. They are ready to fight with what? Why? Some, they have weak weapons. They have weak weapons. The weapons possessed by this mandate are superior than theirs.
Hafizu Salisu believes that the only way to end banditry in Zamfara state and Nigeria as a whole is for citizens to face the terrorists using available weapons, which must not necessarily be a gun. He stressed that even if one has the money and license to possess a gun, they must learn how to operate it, maintaining that owning guns is not the immediate solution to the security crisis facing the state.
In my opinion, asking the citizens to arm themselves is not the solution to the problem. There is need for the state government to have a rethink. At best, deploy more security personnel, but arming the citizens will create more problem.
The respondents asked the federal and Zamfara state government to demonstrate genuine commitment to tackle insecurity by directing the security agencies to go all out on the criminal elements to flush them out.
In the meantime, Zamfara state government said it is in talks with President Muhammad Buhari to grant it permission to allow residents acquire weapons to defend their communities against terrorists. Special advisor to the governor, Bello Matauli, on security, retired DIG Mamman Zafi, told journalists in Gusau, the state capital, about the security measures being taken to curtail the activities of terrorists in the state.
The recent upsurge of terrorist activities in Zamfara state has compelled the state government to take hard decisions and security measures to address the menace, to enable residents and farmers to go about carrying out their lawful activities in the state without fear of terrorists. The State Commissioner for Information, Ibrahim Dosara, lamented that Zamfara state is in a serious security crisis as the state has become a colony of banditry in Nigeria. He explained that though the federal government has since placed embargo on issuing of license for individuals to possess arms, but the security situation in the state is further deteriorating and becoming uncontrollable, hence the need for the state government to dialogue with President Muhammadu Buhari to allow residents obtain licenses to own guns to defend themselves.
Government has henceforth directed individuals to prepare and obtain lawful weapons to defend themselves against the bandits. Although there is an existing law that bans issuance of license to obtain such weapons, people wishing to obtain the weapon are advised to fill forms that will be distributed to each of the 19 emirates of the state, and enough number of such forms are so far been provided for distribution to people wishing to obtain local weapons that will be used in defending themselves.
On whether the security agencies have failed in the fight against terrorists, the state officials said they did not, but commended them for putting their best to tackling the prevailing security challenges in the state.
I always commend the efforts of the security agencies, especially on the background of the nature of the crisis. In every country, you see a guerrilla fight. Guerrilla is a very difficult situation to face. They have the advantage more than we do have, and they have monopolized the most strategic side of where, even if we are taking the battle to them, we have to be exceptionally very, very careful.
The Zamfara state government believes the security measures being put in place will create conducive atmosphere for farmers to return to their farmlands to engage in farming activities for bumper food production to boost economic activities in the state.
The Bauchi State Police Command has revealed the identities of the 3 suspects that removed the eyes of a 16-year-old boy, Uzairu Salisu, in Bauchi State. The command also announced the recovery of the plucked eyes. The state police spokesman, DSP Mohammed Ahmed Wakil, in a statement on Monday listed the suspects as Isaac Ezekiel, 32, of Rafinzurfi, Yelwa, Bauchi Metropolis, Nensok Bawa, of 38, of Kabwir District, Kanke Local Government Area of Plateau State, and Yohana Luka alias Dr. Samu, 52, of Golbong, Ampa District in Kanke Local Government Area of Plateau State. Wakil said that the prime suspect, Isaac Ezekiel, voluntarily confessed to the crime, which he admitted was for ritual purposes. He said a prompt search of his house by the police led to the recovery of the victim's eyeballs and more exhibits. A divisional police officer newly posted to Birnimgwari in Kaduna State has been abducted. The DPO was abducted along Kaduna-Birnimgwari Highway around 9 a.m. on Monday. Sources say that the DPO was on his way to report at his duty post when he was abducted. It is not clear if the officer was traveling alone in the vehicle when he was picked up. The Nigerian police is yet to react or issue an official statement on the abduction. A petrol black marketer, simply identified as Abdurrahman, is said to have died after getting trapped under the Katampe Bridge along Kubwa Express in Abuja. The victim was said to have gone under the bridge in an attempt to recover some gallons of petrol swept away by water when he got trapped on Sunday afternoon. 3 persons, including 2 officials of the Federal Fire Service and one of his friends who attempted to rescue the trapped Abdurrahman, also got trapped but were rescued. Emergency officials on ground could not respond to questions as they were busy with rescue operations as at the time of filing this report. An eyewitness narrates the incident.
There are some people that sell black market fuel here, and so they hide their jerry cans which fall in the bush. Then the heavy rain started, so the jerry cans fell inside a gutter. They waited for the rain to stop. Immediately, they went to retrieve the jerry cans. The 2 people entered the gutter. Some of the jerry cans' cap came off, so the fuel poured and got mixed with water. And the place looked very tight. There was not too much air. It was just the smell of fuel that they were perceiving, and so they ran out of breath, which made them got stuck. On seeing this, some friends quickly contacted some of their family members, so that's how they rushed to save them. While saving them, they were only able to bring out one of them, which was rushed to the hospital. He is okay. Meanwhile, in order to rescue the other guy still stuck inside, 2 police officers too got stuck, but they were lucky to be saved, while the other guy is still there.
Police authorities in Imo State say that they have arrested one of the suspected killers of a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, Ahmed Gulak. The public relations officer of the Imo State Police Command, Mike Abatam, disclosed this while briefing reporters on Monday in Owerri, the state capital. The suspect, identified as Anosike Chimobi from Ahiazu Mbase local government area of the state, was apprehended 1 year after Gulak's death. Gulak, a former aide to former President Goodluck Jonathan, was murdered by a group of armed men on May 30, 2021, during a visit to Imo State. Parading the suspect alongside others, Abatam said that Chimobi had been on the trail of the command since the killing of Gulak last year. Chimobi, while speaking with reporters, admitted that he drove the criminals to the spot and blocked Gulak's vehicle, which was on its way to the airport. Now, gunmen suspected to be kidnappers have killed a Catholic priest, Reverend Father Christopher Odia, in Edo State. Police authorities in the state confirmed the incident in a statement on Monday in Benin City by Jennifer Iwebu, the Deputy Public Relations Officer of the command. Odia was, until his death, the priest in charge of St. Michael Catholic Church at Hiabigo in Etako West local government area of the state. He was abducted from his rectory in the early hours of Sunday while on his way to conduct a mass for worshippers at the parish. Odia's death comes a day after another Catholic priest, Reverend Father Vitus Borogo, was killed by armed men in Chukun local government area of Kaduna State. The Rivers State The Rivers State National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, says no fewer than 145 suspected drug dealers are being prosecuted in various courts in Rivers State. The state commander of the NDLEA in Rivers, Dr. Ahmed Mahmouda, made this known at a sensitization campaign to commemorate the 2022 International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking in Port Harcourt. The report.
As part of its campaign in the fight against drug abuse and substance use in the country, the Rivers State Command of the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, in collaboration with some civil society organizations and pharmacists, staged a sensitization awareness campaign on the need to end the ugly menace against the youth. Speaking with newsmen, the State Commander of NDLEA in Rivers, Dr. Ahmed Mahmouda, said the level of drug abuse and illicit trafficking in Nigeria had become worrisome and needed concerted efforts by all groups in the society to sensitize the public on the dangers.
For the arrest and seizures of drug peddlers and barons, we were able between January to date, that is exactly 6 months now, we were able to arrest successfully about 145 suspects. Mostly we have 26 females and 119 males.
Executive Director of Right Minds Leaders Network, John Best, and other stakeholders urge youths in the state to shun illicit drugs because of the negative effect on their health.
The 2022 International Day Against Drug Abuse focuses on addressing drug abuse in health and humanitarian crisis. So many things are happening. You hear about wars, you hear about so many things. And so many persons believe that, young people believe that the way out of this crisis is to indulge in drugs, is to take something to cool off and all of that. But we're here to tell them that no, by the time you take this thing, it never helps matters.
Leadership Challenge Foundation is here today collaborating with NDLEA to engage the minds of the youth and to let them know that there is no good in drug abuse. Drug abuse cannot do any youth any good.
We're actually fighting against the illicit use of drugs. That's why we are here. We reach out to the young ones, the ones that are really mad by these illicit behaviors too, taking illicit drugs like marijuana and the rest of them that are very, very harmful to their system.
It's always good to know your health status in order to live a better life. So we always say there's no future in drug abuse. So we also endeavor and we tell people to always mind what they put in their body. There are consequences of drug abuse as well. So we have the physical, we have the mental, and we have the social effects.
The commander, Ahmed Mahmouda, reaffirmed that the command under his watch has determined to ward off traffickers from the state with the active support of the Rivers State government and some community members. He said drug is behind violence and insecurity that seem to take over Nigeria at the moment, saying citizens must rise up to defend itself by joining the war against drug abuse, which he said knows no age or religion.
You're watching the News Hour on Trust Television. Coming up shortly. Kano residents consider camels as alternative. Find out more after the break. Join us again.
Every patriotic Nigerian should hear this. Any politician who means well for the people will never allow themselves or their supporters to engage in any violent, destructive activities. No politician who truly wants to serve the people and develop the nation will encourage his followers to destroy properties or take human lives before, during, or after the elections. The Nigerian public must watch out for these traits and isolate any politician who encourages supporters to engage in violence. No genuine politician or patriot will cause trouble and seek to destroy the very society which they aspire to lead or develop. Politicians who have the good of the people at heart will not allow themselves or their followers to engage in violence, destruction of properties, and then taking of lives. Be vigilant. By their words you shall know them. Shun violence. Stay away from politicians who want you to do so. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NECO.
Welcome back. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Justice Olukayode Ariwola takes oath of office as acting Chief Judge of Nigeria after resignation of Ibrahim Tanko. Bandits abduct DPO in Kaduna as defense chief replies Zamfara on self-defense. And now elsewhere, as part of efforts to encourage smooth democratic processes in countries within the West African region, Special Representative of the United Nations Office for West Africa and the Sahel has visited the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Abuja. The mission says that the visit was to canvass support for Nigeria as she prepares for her general election in 2023 and help ensure a peaceful exercise. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu reports.
So as Nigeria has been always the good example, and we are happy to know and to hear that the candidates have been already selected.
Les Nations Unies seront toujours à côté du Nigeria pour que cet événement puisse se passer dans les conditions les meilleures.
So the UN, the United Nations overall, will be always supportive to Nigeria so that the elections will take place peacefully.
Et une fois de plus, nous vous encourageons, nous vous félicitons pour le travail extrêmement important que vous nécessitez de faire pour la réussite de ces élections.
So we congratulate you and we support you again for the work being done, and the work will be done in terms of preparing these elections.
Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmoud Yakubu, who received the special representative of UNOWA, appreciated the support offered during the conduct of previous elections and assured of the Commission's commitment towards an increasingly consolidated electoral process.
On our invitation and working with the United Nations Office in Nigeria, and the United Nations Development Program, the UNDP, we invited a United Nations Needs Assessment Mission ahead of the 2023 general election. And I'm glad that His Excellency, the Secretary General of the United Nations, accepted our invitation and not too long ago sent a needs assessment mission.
The INEC chairman, who said elections will be conducted based on the provisions of the Electoral Act, also noted that the outcome will be dependent on the choice made by Nigerians.
Election is both national and international. We have very good working relationship with our strategic partners and allies in the country. We work very closely with the political parties, with civil society organizations, with media, with the security agencies in the country. But at the same time, we also work closely with our friends in the international community, such as UNOWAS. So whenever you come on this kind of mission, we feel doubly encouraged to continue to do what we need to do for the peace and stability of our sub-region.
UNOWA is made up of 15 countries with 84 million registered voters across the sub-region. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now on political stories, presidential candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Chakwaz Okore, says officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission are milking the party dry, taking advantage of the leadership crisis rocking it. Addressing a press conference in Abuja, the APGA presidential candidate raised the alarm that the actions of the electoral body will affect the party's chances at the 2023 general elections. Okore alleged that INEC officials are turning APGA into a cash cow, with officials building houses in Abuja from proceeds accrued from the crisis in the party. The allegation is coming on the heels of a refusal by the electoral body to recognize Edoze Njoku as the authentic national chairman of the party. Now, the 2022 Senior School Certificate Examination for school-based candidates conducted by the National Examination Council, NECO, has commenced nationwide. Trust TV's Maradia Umar, who visited some schools, reports that the exercise commenced with practicals in various subjects. The report.
In one of the schools in the city center, students were seen in clusters waiting for instruction to commence the examination scheduled for the day. Some students and the exam officer of the school said modalities had been put in place for smooth takeoff of the practicals examinations. Away from the city center, SX3 students were seen around the premises of the school we visited. The principal of the school declined a video interview, but however, confirmed that the NECO examination has started, adding that students are already writing their practical exams in an undisclosed hall in the school compound. Some candidates speak on the level of preparedness for the examination.
Before this NECO starts, I first and have my timetable well written down, morning, afternoon, and night, how I will read my book also. So as the examination is starting now, the first paper we have, I will start to read them and make sure I do well with it.
I'm preparing very well for this NECO exam, and I just pray that my exams will be successful. And for the PhD practical, well, they say that we are starting on Thursday, so just pray that it goes well. Some of my colleagues are writing the practical as I speak now.
My PhD teacher was not around, and they gave us information that we are starting it on Thursday. I don't feel bad because they have the paper and that is their subject, because I'm not studying the subject.
Effort to speak to some of the invigilators proved abortive, but the students are, however, hoping for good grades when the results are finally out. Martia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Nigerian pilgrims in Saudi Arabia are experiencing high cost of goods and services, unlike what obtained in previous Hajj seasons. Some attribute the rise in cost to dollar value appreciation in the country. Sharif Al-Hassan spoke to pilgrims and how the exchange rate is affecting their daily activities in the Holy Land. The report.
The Grand Mosque of Mecca and Medina was locked down for nearly 2 years as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia struggles to stem the tide of the deadly virus. But that has changed. This time, the annual Hajj pilgrimage is taking place.
Authorities in Saudi Arabia seem to be easing coronavirus restrictions, which now give pilgrims unfettered access to the major grand mosques of Mecca and Medina without social distancing and wearing of face masks. But one thing that is staring thousands of Nigerian pilgrims in the face is the high cost of goods and services occasioned by a frequent rise in the dollar as against the Nigerian currency.
An exchange rate of 100 US dollar is approximately 65,000 naira, and to Saudi riyals is 375 riyals, and when converted to naira, 1 riyal is equivalent to 185 naira.
No origin Morocco, it's China Morocco.
So, for every goods and services patronized by a pilgrim in the Holy Land, the cost has nearly doubled or tripled compared to what was obtained during the last pilgrimage in 2019.
Anyone that wants to buy something is better for that person to buy from home, Nigeria, because our currency doesn't have any value at all. And if care is not taken, the money, one half might not be enough for him to do things throughout their stay.
Barkindo Abdullahi Yakubu is one among thousands of Nigerian pilgrims feeling the brunt of the high cost of goods and services in Saudi Arabia. Barkindo is left with no option than to adapt and utilize scale of preference in his daily dealings to avoid running out of cash.
It is very clear, especially for my compatriots who come from Nigeria, you find that the exchange rate differs significantly. $100 US dollars is equivalent to 375 riyals, Saudi riyals. While if you compare it to Nigerian currency, you find that $1 is $100 is about 68,000 naira or so, or thereabout. So there is difference, and that difference is giving Nigerians headache.
For now, as pilgrims continue to grapple with the high cost of goods and services, Barkindo and many others who are on a pilgrimage in the country are cautious in their spending till their last stay in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Following the recent increase in the price of meat across the Federation, people are resorting to buying other animals outside the regular cows and rams. In Nigeria's city of Kano, some residents are now considering camel as an alternative to ram and cow. Trust TV's Idris Jibrin has more on this.
It's been 10 years since Sanuko Farna started sacrificing ram during Muslim Eid al-Kabir. But with the rising cost of ram, he's wondering if that will be possible this year. He and many others are now considering camel as an alternative sacrificial animal.
Decided to use camel this year because things are hard, and I believe camel is cheaper because small ram is now at between 50 or 60,000 naira upward. But if you get a camel of 150,000 naira, it will even be better than the ram in terms of meat quantity.
The price of ram and cow in Kano this year has rose to over 60% as against 2021, exceeding at least 100,000 naira per average ram and 400 to 1 million naira per average cow.
Camel this year is easier to afford, unlike cow and ram, because we have camel of 400 to 600,000 naira, and even from 200,000 to 240,000 naira, which is actually affordable to most people, especially those buying in groups.
Although camel is rare in Kano, but it's gradually being considered as an alternative to ram and cow, largely because it's cheaper to buy and the meat quantity is much higher than cow.
Camel is more affordable than cow. For example, this camel is not more than 400,000 naira. And if you bargain, it can even be lower than that. But if you compare it with a cow of 400,000 naira, it means the camel will be more than a cow of 600,000 naira. So you see, it is cheaper to buy and is actually going to be affordable for most people.
But with the continuous demand for the camel here in Kano, there are concerns that the price for this alternative animal to cow and ram could get higher too. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
And in business news, at least 410.6 billion naira worth of raw sugar was imported to Nigeria from the second quarter of 2021 to the first quarter of 2022. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, disclosed this in a report it recently published. According to the report, the commodity, which is the main ingredient for sugar production in the country, is among the list of commodities on the foreign exchange restriction list of the Central Bank of Nigeria and has consistently been among the top 10 goods imported mainly from Brazil. A breakdown of each quarter indicates that the commodity termed cane sugar specified in subheading Note 2 to Chapter 17, meant for sugar refinery, indicated that 114 billion naira was imported from Brazil and Andorra in the second quarter of the 2021, while 135 billion naira was used to import it from the same countries in the third quarter of 2021. However, its importation dropped to 85.3 billion naira and 81.5 billion naira in the fourth quarter of 2021 and the first quarter of 2022, respectively. Nigerians across the nation have continued to deal with the issue of poor electricity supply due to the recent collapse of the national grid. This has increased the cost of running their day-to-day lives, as they have no option than to generate alternative power for themselves. Chamung Dabeng in this report speaks to the former chairman of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, Sam Amadi, on the poor state of Nigeria's power sector and what could be done to ameliorate the plight of Nigerians.
The inconsistency in Nigeria's power supply and frequent collapse of the national grid has continued to be a source of concern for Nigerians nationwide. Despite huge investments in the sector, there seems to be no clear path to constant or near constant power supply in the country, with many arguing that the situation is even becoming worse today.
The state of Nigeria power sector today has always been a frail one. It has always been in crisis since the year 2000. When the reform started, but it's now worse. The level of decay is worse. We've had in the last since January, we have about, some have said about up to 12 system collapse. Some of them total system collapse. That's far more than we've ever had, and we've not even ended half of the year.
President Muhammad Buhari last week announced plans by the federal government to decentralize the power sector, giving states control over their power generation. The former NERC chairman speaks on whether or not this move portends well for the country and likely challenges such a policy may encounter.
It's enough to announce a decentralization policy, but to get the policy framework out is a different thing. So, for example, people say, why should we have a national grid, one national grid? Can't we have multiple regional grids, which probably is reasonable? So you have the western grid, you have the northern grid, and the eastern grid. And because the idea then is that if you have that, then you can see two things. One, efficiency competition between the grids. So you have to manage your grid well, because if you don't manage it well, then you could cause problems for those in that grid zone.
The lapses in the power sector have had a severe negative impact on the lives of Nigerians and the growth of the economy, as it continues to affect industries and forcing Nigerians and businesses to depend on alternative means like generators. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Let's now take a look at some more business updates put together by Chamun Dabeng.
In order to reduce currency volatility, the Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria, APCON, has encouraged the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to let Bureau de Change, BDCs, collect remittances from Nigerians living abroad. President of APCON, Aminu Gwadabe, noted that the Naira's volatility, despite CBN's interventions in foreign exchange, is being exacerbated by growing inflation and an increase in interest rates and sluggish economic growth, which has an impact on middle and low-income earners. According to Gwadabe, BDCs continue to be one of the methods used globally for remittances from the diaspora. He explained that as long as the inflation rate outpaces interest rates, investment returns would decline, and there will be a decline in foreign capital inflows, which will result in slow economic growth. For the benefit of the economy, Gwadabe urged the CBN to liberalize the foreign exchange market, ensure that demand to supply paradigms shift, support SMEs infrastructure and joint venture financing, raise operators' awareness of skills, ensure more stakeholder collaborations, and create policies that are industry-friendly. Payments from electrical distribution companies to generation firms for electricity generation have decreased by 50%. According to the figures, DISCOs were unable to fully compensate GENCOs for the amount of power they produced in January 2022. The outcome was a 50% decrease in revenue for the generation businesses. The breakdown of the data revealed that while the 26 generating plants submitted an invoice of almost 72 billion naira, DISCOs were only able to remit 37 billion naira, representing a 50% reduction in payments to GENCOs. For the Nigerian power supply industry, which is made up of 11 utility companies, collecting electricity tariffs results in payments to the transmission company and the GENCOs. Transmission Company of Nigeria, DISCOs and GENCOs have committed to signing contracts to deliver 5,000 megawatts of energy beginning on July 1st, according to Garba Sanusi, the chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission.
And away from Nigeria, President Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday urged world powers to step up their support for Ukraine via arms and sanctions as he addressed the G7 summit via video link from Kyiv after the capital was hit by the first Russian strikes in weeks. Zelensky asked G7 leaders to further squeeze Russia over its invasion of Ukraine by capping prices of oil exported by Moscow. The US and Canada, which are far less reliant on Russia as an energy supply than Europe, have banned all Russian oil imports. Speaking ahead of a NATO summit scheduled for Wednesday, Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said Russia poses most significant and direct threat to their security. Meanwhile, in the eastern Luhansk province, the governor urged all civilians to leave the city of Lysychansk, the last big city in the region still held by Ukrainian troops. Let's now take sports updates put together by Adeni Ajishafe.
The Nigerian Women Football League NWFL annual general meeting AGM has picked September 14, 2022 as the kickoff date for 2022-2023 season. A communique issued after its meeting in Aguira, the Bayelsa State capital. NWFL also declared to work towards improving women's football in the country. According to the communique, the Congress resolved to protect the integrity of the league by ensuring fair officiating by match officials and engaging match assessors for all games. Congress also agreed that clubs will comply with international best practices in areas of players' welfare and remuneration. It passed a vote of confidence in the leadership of Aisha Fallow, the board of NWFL, and also in the Club Owners Association headed by Matilda Otwene. The Congress ratified the promotion of Heartland Queens of Owerri, Ibom Angels of Uyo to the NWFL Premiership, and the relegation of Sunshine Queens of Akure and Pelican Stars of Calabar to the NWFL Championship. Chairperson of the Nigerian Women Football League Board, Aisha Falode, says the NWFL Congress was an opportunity for key actors to assess the 2021-2022 football season while setting agenda for the new season, especially in improving standards. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has reversed its decision on the venue of the final of both the Champions League and CAF Confederations Cup. A few years ago, under Ahmad as the president of CAF, the football body decided to cancel the two-leg affair for the final and decided it would be one leg at a neutral venue. The outcome of the 2022 final between Wydad Casablanca of Morocco and Al Ahly of Egypt is one of the key reasons the decision was changed, where the final was played in Morocco, after no country except Morocco bid to stay the final. The final CAF headquarters in Cairo, Egypt, says from next season, the final of both competitions will be played on home and away basis. In the final of the 2022, which was held in Morocco, Wydad emerged the winner, while RS Berkane won the Confederations Cup in Nigeria. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
And that's a wrap on the News Hour. Remember, you can watch more via all social media platforms and also on our YouTube channel. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for watching.